Much like the previous installment, Season 5 is regarded as one of the high points of Taskmaster, and rightly so. It's certainly one of my most rewatched seasons, and features several tasks that have become legend among fans. It also has what many consider the best ensemble, full stop. And looking at this lineup, it's kind of difficult to argue against that. Ranking the players was harder for me than any season so far, with the lowest contestants the kind of people who may merit 4 points in a lesser series. Three specifically. More than that, the chemistry between the cast is bananas good. Nish's friendship with Mark is super cute, especially considering that Nish seems to be trying to drag Mark down into that special pit of hell that Greg has sentenced him to every single time they interact. Sally's friendship with Bob is charming as hell, and also kind of gross considering she encounters both his urine and feces during the 8-episode season. Similarly adorable is Sally's sisterhood with Aisling. Watching the two stand up for one another when Greg starts to rank them lower than they deserve is a hoot. Other seasons had standout performers, but this cast functions better as a whole. The group tasks are a high point for once, and these 5 humans genuinely seem to respect and love one another and their different approaches to comedy. The cast is the reason this season is so many's favorite. Together, they overcome task writing that, while excellent in many respects, is a step down from season 2 or 4. Alex often makes things 20% too complex, though even I'll admit that these are nothing compared to the often baffling complexity of the tasks from season 10 and beyond. Like, those are nuts. Other tasks just lie there, limp, brought to life only by the zeal of the group. The fact that the competitors can wring laughs out of something as boring as making Marmite is a testament to the cast's overall brilliance. But now I'm making it sound like the task writing is plain bad, which it is not. To be clear, it's very good, just not great. There are several tasks that rank high across the entire series, and even tasks that seem, just okay on the surface, like that water cooler moment, but they remain memorable because certain cast members' interpretation of the rules are just incredible. Speaking of that cast, poor Mark. Every ounce of stress he is feeling at any given moment is super obvious on his face. And Mark is stressed a lot, like every minute. It's kind of hilarious. Because of this, Greg took specific delight in ripping him apart at every possible opportunity. When it was clear that Mark had invested way too much time and energy into a task, usually a prize task like that neon hat or that giant puzzle, Greg would simply throw 1 point his way and insult him for caring in the first place. Think about it. Mark came in joint second and lost the game by only 8 points. Had Greg properly scored Mark through the season, he probably would have won. This truth is the kind of thing that I'm sure still, all these years later, keeps Mark up at night. Greg, on the other hand, probably thought about it for 30 seconds in passing, chuckled, and then went back to tickling Alex. He pulled off second place not because he was a great Taskmaster contestant, but because Mark was consistently middle of the pack. Even Mark's moments of genius, like turning on the light in the paint in the dark challenge, ultimately ended with him doing mediocre work. But he could always count on Nish to do worse than him, and remained a contender because Bob and Sally were either geniuses with 5 points or completely flaming out with 1 or 0 points. Mark's desire to succeed was also smacked down by his partnering with Nish, who kept pulling Mark down with him. During the live shows, Nish kept insisting that they were a pair of dunces, something you could see Mark bristle against as he stressfully laughed along. Whenever Mark guests on the Taskmaster podcast, he sputters out that his association with Nish makes people think he's a worse player than he actually is, which, honestly, is probably true. But then again, at least Nish can open up a briefcase, you know what I'm saying? I like Mark a lot, and his ball of stress by the rules vibe feels especially fresh with this season, which is otherwise filled with instinctive players. In all honesty, for a while I had him joint third with 3 points, but somehow it feels fitting to place him here, at the bottom of the pack, even though we know he deserves more. Aisling came to fight, and she wants you to know it. With nearly every single task for the entire season, she will read the task and shout something like, "Oh no, why?" or "I knew it." I can't do a British accent, I'm sorry. But she then proceeds to throw herself entirely into the task, funnily complaining the whole damn time. I like Aisling best in this gear, making her case brilliantly for her coconut business person as a feminist statement.
Does it have to be a businessman? Or for once, could we open up the idea and call it a business person?
You can interpret businessman however you like.
I will interpret it as sexist.
Or insulting Alex for betraying her after she was the only person who realized he had a body double during a task. That said, she clearly had not watched much Taskmaster before shooting her tasks, because she's pretty shit in most of her tape stuff, let's just be honest. More than any other contestant up until that point in the series, you can tell whether she taped something early or late in the season, when she had a better handle on things. Not great, but at least better. She was better in group tasks, playing off the anarchy of Bob and Sally, but remains her best in fight mode during those live shows. Even considering that, I think Aisling is a very good contestant. She makes the live shows electric, and later seasons struggle to recapture the feeling that she creates here. It's a shame that her competition was just so much more awesome. And here is perhaps my biggest hot take so far. I know Bob is absolutely beloved, especially by British fans. He almost always finishes in the top 10 contestants ever, and often at the very top. Hell, at this point you're probably throwing your shoe at the screen. First and foremost, Bob is great. He's funny in the live shows and has a great wild card in the film task. Plus, it's very clear that the guy is in it to win it. I especially love the hints that we get about his outside life. Bringing in the breathing device and opening up about his near-death experience, they were lovely. As was the hot dog spinning device he crafted so that his children would be willing to eat the cheaper meats. Plus, he could be outstanding at tasks. For me, his high point of the season was him creating that incredible flip book with the banana, going in and out of his face in various ways. It summed up his creativity to a T there. He kept that cupcake candle alive while everyone else failed. And he had the perfect hack for the can stacking task in simply just removing the rope. And who doesn't love a story about a shockingly high anus that forces you to poop backwards? But then again, my issue with Bob is that the pee shit humor is a well he pees in 3 times too often. He probably mentions it 2 to 3 times an episode. And by the time he's creating a graph about where the most piss is at in England, it's just too much. Bob's everyman persona is a large part of his charm, but Jesus, man. Still, Bob's great. He was a solid winner, and I like him much more here than in Champion of Champions, where he clearly just wanted to cause anarchy with no desire to win. I can see exactly why you love him, so please, no death threats. Is it a British thing? Let me know in the comments below. Producers must have known they had something special on their hands with Nish. He's the court jester character of the season, and in the first episode, they do a very similar editing trick with the get the basketball through the hoop without using your hands trick, as they did with Joe Wilkinson in season 2. First, we see the triumph, and then we rewind and watch the truth. But Nish is actually a better version of Joe, because Joe wallowed in how terrible he was. Nish is different. He marches forward with the obvious confidence of the baby in Baby's Day Out through the entire season, which makes the terrible moments all the more funny. He also is clearly a huge fan of the show. Every time we cut back to him during the live shows, he has completely lost it with laughter, which is infectious. Getting taken aside and yelled at by Greg may have well been the best moment of his life. Look at him as he returns to his seat. He somehow seems, I don't know, proud of himself. It also brought me so much joy to see Nish interact with the other panelists all season, specifically Mark to his right and Sally to his left. When Sally dissolves in hysterics, Nish holds her. They share an inability to bottle up their emotions for more than, just a few seconds. And I've already talked about how the brotherhood between Nish and Mark, the one Mark doesn't really want to be part of but is too afraid to say aloud. Always hilarious. Nish is a terrible player, but then again, of course he is. That's part of the fun. My favorite Nish moment of the entire season was not the aforementioned basketball task, but when he hurled that coconut from the side door, it bounced off the metal tower and rolled all the way right back to his feet. That's so niche. That would be a good sitcom name. Sally is the most unhinged player in Taskmaster history, and clearly that's saying something. Offering up an almost normal exterior, Sally let her freak flag fly from almost minute 1 on the show by shouting, "Let's do this!" during the live show, in the same episode that she straddled Alex while stuffing cake into his armpits and lightly waterboarding him. In that moment, a monster was born. And I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. She is incredible. She took tasks that every other contestant tanked and single-handedly made them must-watch television. And speaking of tanks, her most memorable moment for me is when she fucked that water bottle. Or when she poured absinthe on toast and ate it with Alex. Or when she literally filmed Alex crowning. What incredible, demented mind could possibly think of things like that? More than that, though, Sally was actually a damn great player. Her performance in the Jell-O Weetabix Twig Challenge, using the bell jar over the candle, the reading with the other players like a book when voting for who should get the 5 points, all signs of a master contestant. And one of my frustrations of the season is that Greg grossly underscored her on several tasks. To me, she is the clear winner, both in entertainment value and as a smart player. Plus, she was openly horny all season and desperate to be laid. You go, girl. You deserve it after that performance. So, is Sally the best Taskmaster player of all time? I still have a bunch of seasons to get through, but right now, no one beats her. Hell, no one comes close. You can't look away when she's on screen. And I believe that's the definition of a superstar. And if it isn't, it should be. At best, this task was boring. I didn't chuckle a single time, and none of the players came close to making a memorable moment out of it. Frankly, the fact that this made it to air at all is as nonsensical as ordering a pizza for after the shoot in the middle of a sentence. The winner wasn't even a machine, and once again, everyone was shit. But not shit in a funny way, shit in an incompetent way, where you could see Greg struggling to come up with funny criticisms instead of just saying, "Okay, let's move on." Again, I can't do the accent. Maybe I should try Yoda. I don't know. When Greg looked bored, you know you haven't done a task well. While the other tasks could have been fun in theory and failed in execution, this was just a boring-ass idea from the get-go. We get to see the contestants put all the same shit into the box. Bob comes up with a smart idea, doesn't execute it well. Aisling comes up with a mediocre idea and messes it up even worse. This is the definition of something you fast forward through.
Ready? Ready? All right. And 1, 2, and 3. Okay, last one. You ready? Okay. And 4. Oh, there you go. You did it. You did it.
Producers once again chose the perfect first task of the season. Each player reacts to the vague missive in a way that fully defines how they will behave over the next 8 episodes. Aisling immediately suspects Alex of being a pervert, can't blame her, and so overcorrects in her robot costume that it goes from beyond being bad to somehow great. Nish does something semi-competent that Greg hates, makes sense. Mark overthinks way too much. He does research on cuddling, for Christ's sake. And then give Alex a hug that both of them immediately regret. Bob tosses Alex in the trunk of his car and sings "Do You Know the Muffin Man?" And finally, Sally pulls the aforementioned weird cake stuffing that even Cronenberg would call a weird sexual nightmare one that I approve of.
It's gonna go in one armpit.
Perhaps the coolest intro ever to any task, with the contestants walking like badasses to the setup. Greg says Nish looks super hot, and I'm not gonna lie, I kinda swooned while I was watching. The task was complex, but not too complex. Watching the ensemble attempt and mostly fail in doing their stuff was very funny, but then watching Sally walk in like a badass motherfucker and killing it was just cheer-worthy. I loved every second of it.
We switch. Okay, that's on. You finished the trigger?
Yeah, gone.
All season long, Nish and Mark were the underdogs, but their performance was a total bop. I rewound it 3 times. Beyond being catchy, it's also so damn smart. So much so that the producers made sure to put the lyrics up on the screen. And then Sally, Bob, and Aisling came on stage and had to rip that poor, poor woman apart right in front of her. You know Bob came up with that lyric, "Rosalind is a fucking nightmare," and he sings it like his life depends on it. All the while, the wind knocks over every sign, and a panicked Alex tries to set it all back up during the performance, which feels like a metaphor for something, but a metaphor. This is the high watermark for the series as a whole. Producers would often throw musical challenges in during subsequent seasons, hoping to recreate at least a percentage of the same magic, but it never came close to the perfection of this. Which group performance do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below.
What are you doing? Look! Oh my god.
This is a great season of Taskmaster, simple as that. I don't like it quite as much as season 4, but the cast is stronger here, at least I think. For many, the series never got better than seasons 4 and 5. 8 episodes feels like the perfect length. The casting was sublime. The tasks still felt fresh, and the hacks the players came up with are inventive as hell. All they needed was buy the Taskmaster a gift. 4 points feels about right. But what do you think? Do you prefer season 4 or 5? What am I missing about Bob Mortimer, and what makes you love him? And have you ever stuffed cake into your armpits?
Papa John's!